The house had always been more than just walls and a roof. It was the last piece of their parents that remained. Nestled in a quiet suburban street with a white-painted porch and rose bush their mother planted years ago, it carried the warmth of family dinners, birthdays, and late-night laughter that once filled its rooms. After their parents passed away, it became the shared inheritance of two sisters who couldn't be more different, Asha, the narrator, and Sana. Her older sister, Asha, had always been the responsible one, the kind of person who paid bills on time, remembered anniversaries, and stayed up late finishing tasks no one else wanted to do. She worked a full-time job as an accountant, quietly saving money and managing her life with care. Sana, on the other hand, was impulsive, social, and had a taste for luxury that didn't match her income. She drifted between short-lived jobs, often relying on charm and persuasion to get by, when their parents will stated that the house would be shared equally. Asha took it as an opportunity to preserve their family home. She moved in, determined to keep it maintained and full of life. Sana followed suit, saying she needed a place to get back on her feet. At first, Asha didn't mind. She liked having her sister around. It softened the loneliness that crept in after losing both parents within a year, but cohabiting with Sana soon became exhausting. The differences that once seemed trivial as children now flared into daily friction. Sana had no sense of boundaries. She'd invite friends over for loud gatherings on weeknights, leave dishes piled up in the sink, and dismiss Asha's polite reminders to clean up with a careless laugh. "Relax, you're always so uptight," she'd say, brushing past her with a glass of wine in hand. Bills became another battleground. Asha paid most of them: electricity, internet, even groceries, because Sana was between jobs more often than not. Every month, Asha hoped her sister would contribute something, but the excuses never stopped. "I'll pay you back when I get my next gig," Sana would promise, then buy herself new shoes or post photos from a weekend trip with friends. Still, Asha tolerated it. Part of her felt guilty. Sana had struggled after their parents' deaths, lashing out, avoiding responsibility, maybe because grief hit her differently. Asha told herself she was just giving her sister time. But deep down, resentment was brewing. The house she'd worked to maintain began to feel less like home and more like a burden. The emotional strain was constant. Asha would come home after long days at work to find the living room cluttered, music blaring, and her sister sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "You could at least help with dinner," Asha would say. "You're already cooking," Sana would reply without looking up. Friends noticed the tension. Asha's colleague once asked why she didn't just move out. But that suggestion stung. Why should she be the one to leave the home she paid for, the place she had kept alive through effort and love? This was her parents' home? She had promised her mother she'd take care of it. Then came the breaking point: one small argument too many over something trivial, like electricity usage or missing groceries. But beneath those small sparks were years of frustration, disrespect, and unspoken pain. Asha didn't know it yet, but this was the slow tightening of a storm that would soon explode, changing everything she thought she knew about family, love, and ownership. For now, though, she stood in the dim kitchen that night, watching the flicker of light over the old photographs on the wall. Two sisters smiling beside their parents, arms linked, faces bright with innocence. She wondered how they had gone from that to this: two strangers sharing a house built on memories. Slowly tearing it apart from within, the argument started over something small, something so ordinary it shouldn't have mattered. Asha came home one evening after a draining day at work to find the air conditioner blasting and every light in the house on. Sana was lounging in the living room with a few friends, laughing over a TV drama. Snacks spread across the coffee table. "Sana," Asha said quietly, setting her bag down, "you left the AC on all day again? The electric bill is already high enough. Can you please remember to turn it off when you go out?" Her tone was calm, but her exhaustion bled through it. Sana didn't even look at her. "Oh my God, Asha, it's just electricity." "You act like you're the only one who lives here." "I'm the only one who pays for it," Asha replied before she could stop herself. The laughter in the room went still. Sana turned her head sharply, eyes narrowing. "Excuse me?" You heard me, Aisha said, voice trembling but steady. You haven't paid a single bill in months. I'm the one covering everything while you sit here acting like it's your personal lounge? Her friends exchanged awkward glances. Sana stood up, her expression hardening. You think you're better than me because you have a boring little office job? You've always been like this, acting like you're the saint of the family. This isn't about being better, Aisha said, feeling her pulse rise. It's about being fair? Sana crossed her arms, her voice rising. Fair? You think our parents would want you throwing this in my face? I helped take care of them too, remember? I deserve to live here just as much as you. You deserve to contribute, Aisha said. That's all I've been asking. Sana's face twisted with anger. You're unbelievable. You think this house belongs to you just because you pay some bills? Guess what? It's ours. You don't get to tell me what to do in my own home. The last words echoed in Aisha's mind. My own home. Something inside her cracked. All the swallowed frustration, the sleepless nights, the careful silence, it all came rushing up. Then maybe you should act like it's yours, she snapped. Stop treating me like a maid. Stop pretending you're the victim when you've done nothing to help. There was a long, tense pause. Then Sana's voice dropped low and sharp. If you hate living here so much, then leave. Aisha blinked. What? You heard me, Sana said, stepping closer. Get out. Go find somewhere else to stay. You've made this house miserable with your nagging. I'm done. Aisha stared at her sister, speechless. She half expected it to be another one of Sana's temper tantrums that would blow over in an hour. But Sana's friends watched silently, their expressions confirming it. She meant it. You're kicking me out of our parents' home? Aisha asked, disbelief breaking her voice. It's my home now, Sana said coldly. You don't belong here anymore. That night, Aisha packed her clothes into 2 suitcases while Sana stood in the hallway, arms folded. The house that had once been filled with laughter now felt suffocatingly small. She wanted to say something to remind Sana of the promises they made at their mother's bedside to stick together. But no words came as she walked out the front door. The porch light flickered above her, casting a dim glow on the cracked path. The roses her mother planted had withered in the heat, their petals dry and brown. Aisha paused for a moment, then kept walking. The next morning, she tried her key in the lock. It didn't fit. Sana had already changed it, and just like that, the house that had always been home was no longer hers, or so she thought. The first few days after being kicked out felt like walking through fog. Aisha stayed on a friend's couch, her small suitcase tucked in the corner, unsure what to do next. She kept replaying the scene over and over, the shouting, the look on Sana's face, the click of the lock that shut her out. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's old rose garden behind the gate. Now beyond her reach, her friend Miriam tried to comfort her. You can't stay with me forever, but don't rush back there either. Just take time to breathe. Breathe. It sounded simple, but Aisha felt like she'd been holding her breath for years. Everything she had done working overtime, paying bills, maintaining the house had been for that home. To be cast out of it by her own sister left a hollow ache where her pride used to be. One afternoon, unable to sleep, Aisha decided to go through her old files. Her parents had left behind a dusty box of documents, insurance papers, utility bills, and property files that she had rescued years ago after their death. She had kept it out of habit, not sentiment. But now it called to her. Maybe she wanted to find something, anything, to remind her the house still had a piece of her in it. She opened the worn box and began sorting through the yellowed papers. Electricity receipts, hospital forms, her father's old handwriting on a few notes. Then she found a thick envelope marked Property Title Updated in her mother's neat script. Curious. She unfolded the document. It was dated 5 years ago, 2 years before their mother passed. The first thing that caught her eye was her own name, Aisha Ahmed, listed as the sole owner of the house. Her heart skipped. She read it again, slower this time, making sure she wasn't mistaken. It was all there. Her mother and father's signatures, the notary stamp, the transfer deed. They had transferred full ownership to her. She sat back, stunned. The words blurred before her eyes as tears welled up, not just from shock, but from a swirl of emotions she couldn't name. Gratitude, sadness, vindication, her parents had known. They must have seen how much she had sacrificed to keep the home going. They'd wanted to protect her from this exact situation, but why hadn't they told Sana? Or maybe they had, and Sana chose to ignore it. Aisha remembered the year the document was signed. That was when she'd helped pay off the final mortgage payment quietly, without expecting anything in return. Her parents had been proud, her mother hugging her tightly and saying, "You've done more for this house than anyone else. You're the one who keeps it alive." At the time, Aisha thought it was just praise. Now, she realized it had been a hint. She turned to Miriam, her voice trembling. "I own the house. Legally, it's mine." Miriam blinked. "You're serious?" Aisha nodded, clutching the papers like a lifeline. "My parents transferred the deed to me. Sana's been living there rent-free all this time." Miriam's expression shifted from disbelief to a slow, fierce grin. "Then she didn't kick you out of your home, Aisha. She kicked herself out." For the first time in weeks, Aisha felt something other than grief clarity. A fire began to kindle in her chest, small but steady. She wasn't just a victim in this story. She had the truth on her side and the law to back it up. That night, Aisha scanned every page, saved digital copies, and called a lawyer first thing the next morning. As she explained her situation, the lawyer's calm reply made her heart race with purpose. "Miss Ahmed," he said, "if what you're describing is correct, your sister has no legal claim to the property. We can proceed with an eviction notice immediately." Aisha hung up the phone slowly, staring at the deed again. The house wasn't lost, it was hers. It always had been. Aisha didn't rush back the next day. She wanted to, desperately, to stand at the door and demand her sister open it. But she knew better. This time, she wouldn't act out of emotion. She'd do it properly, calmly, and with proof. For a week, she worked with the lawyer, gathering every document, ownership papers, utility bills, payment receipts. Each paper told the same story. Aisha had kept that home alive when no one else had. When everything was ready, the lawyer scheduled a formal visit. "Are you sure you want to be present?" he asked gently. "We can handle this without you there." But Aisha shook her head. "No, I need to see it. I need her to hear it from me." That Friday afternoon, the lawyer's car pulled up to the old White House. The air felt thick, the sun casting long shadows across the familiar porch. Aisha stood there for a moment before knocking, her heart pounding hard enough to hurt. The door swung open. Sana stood in the doorway, her expression shifting from surprise to annoyance in seconds. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk," Aisha said evenly. "This won't take long." Sana crossed her arms. "Oh, so now you want to talk?" After storming out and making a scene? "I changed the locks for a reason, Aisha. You don't live here anymore." Behind her, the living room looked messier than ever-empty snack bags, clothes draped over chairs. The home their parents had built looked tired, uncared for. Aisha gestured toward the man beside her. "This is Mr. Khan, my lawyer. He has something to discuss with you." Sana laughed, an incredulous, mocking sound. "A lawyer? What, you're suing me for kicking you out of our house?" Mr. Khan remained composed. He opened his folder and handed her a set of papers. "Miss Sana Ahmed, these are formal eviction documents. The property at this address is legally owned by Miss Aisha Ahmed, as per the transfer deed dated 5 years ago. You have been residing here without consent." For a heartbeat, the only sound was the distant hum of a passing car. Sana blinked, then frowned, flipping through the pages. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "The house belongs to both of us. Our parents said so." Aisha stepped forward, her voice steady but firm. "They changed it, Sana. After I paid off the mortgage, they transferred ownership to me. It's all there in writing. You've been living here because I allowed it, but that's over now." Sana's face went pale. "You can't do this. You're my sister." "I didn't do this," Aisha said softly. "You did when you threw me out?" For the first time in years, Sana had no comeback. Her lips parted, but no words came. She looked down at the papers again, her hand trembling slightly. Mr. Khan cleared his throat politely. You have 2 weeks to vacate the property, Miss Sana. Failure to comply will result in a court order. I don't need your threats, Sana hissed, glaring at Aisha. You think this makes you powerful? You're just proving how heartless you are. Aisha's voice broke a little, but she didn't look away. You called it your home, Sana. I just reminded you whose name is actually on the deed. For a long moment, neither sister moved. The wind rustled through the dry rose bush near the porch, the same ones their mother once tended with care. Then Sana turned away, muttering something under her breath before slamming the door shut. But it didn't matter. The message had been delivered, and this time, Aisha wasn't the one standing outside. As she walked back to the car, her hands shook not from fear, but from relief. Years of silence, guilt, and submission had finally lifted. The house, her parents' legacy, her peace, she was reclaiming all of it, and this time no one would take it away. The days that followed the confrontation felt strangely calm for Aisha, quiet, focused, and deliberate. She went back to work, answered her lawyer's calls, and avoided checking her phone too often. She knew Sana would reach out eventually, she just didn't know how. It started with a text. Sana, I can't believe you do this to your own sister. Sana, Mom and Dad would be ashamed of you. Aisha read the messages but didn't reply. She didn't need to explain what her parents had already decided years ago. The silence, she realized, was more powerful than any argument she could make. Over the next few days, the texts kept coming, some angry, some pleading. Sana, fine, I'll pay rent. Just let me stay. Sana, you're seriously going to throw me out like a stranger? Sana, don't act like you're innocent. You just wanted control all along. Aisha's chest tightened every time she saw her sister's name appear on the screen. Despite everything, a part of her still remembered the childhood version of Sana, the one who used to braid her hair before school, who defended her from bullies, who cried beside her when their father passed away. But that version of her sister was gone. Buried under years of pride and entitlement, 2 weeks passed quickly. The eviction notice expired. When Aisha and Mr. Khan returned to the house, Sana was still there. Boxes were scattered around the living room, but it was clear she hadn't packed much. The air smelled stale like unwashed laundry and old perfume. You're really going through with this? Sana said bitterly as Aisha stepped inside. Yes, Aisha replied quietly. You had time. Sana scoffed. You've turned into Mom, cold, controlling, always needing to have the last word. Aisha felt the words land heavy in her chest, but she didn't react. Mom wasn't controlling, she said softly. She was careful. There's a difference. Sana turned away, arms crossed. You think you're the victim here? You've always been the favorite, the perfect daughter, the one who never makes mistakes. Aisha exhaled slowly. You think this was easy for me? I never wanted it to come to this. I wanted us to live together, to make it work. But you pushed me out of my own home. Sana's voice cracked. I was angry. You kept judging me, making me feel like nothing. Aisha's expression softened. For a brief moment, she saw the scared sister hiding behind the bitterness. I never wanted to make you feel small, she said. But I won't let you take advantage of me anymore. For once, Sana didn't argue. She looked down, eyes glassy, and said nothing. By the end of the week, she was gone. The house felt eerily silent when Aisha returned, her footsteps echoing through the empty rooms. She walked through each space slowly, the kitchen, the hallway. Their parents' old bedroom, feeling the stillness settle around her like a long exhale. In the living room, she found something on the coffee table, a single framed photo. It was the two of them as children, sitting on the porch, ice cream melting down their hands, both laughing uncontrollably. Sana hadn't taken it with her. Aisha picked it up, tracing a finger over the glass. Her throat tightened. Despite everything, she whispered, I hope you find your way, Sana. That night, she changed the locks again, not out of spite, but to mark a new beginning. The house felt like hers for the first time in years, not just legally, but emotionally. Outside, the old rose bush swayed gently in the wind. Aisha stepped onto the porch, breathing in the cool night air. The stars shimmered faintly above the roof her parents built with love and sacrifice. This was her home again, quiet, steady, and finally at peace. The first morning alone in the house was eerily still. No blaring music, no clatter of footsteps, no half-empty mugs left on the counter. The silence felt strange at first, too big, too hollow, but Aisha soon realized it wasn't emptiness she was feeling. It was peace. Sunlight streamed softly through the kitchen window, illuminating the dust particles that danced in the air. Aisha made herself tea and stood by the sink, gazing out at the small backyard where the rosebush had begun to bloom again. Maybe they just needed space to breathe, just like her, over the next few weeks. She poured herself into repairing what the house had lost. The walls needed a fresh coat of paint. The curtains were faded. The garden had wilted. But Aisha didn't see the work as a burden, it felt healing. Every stroke of paint, every nail hammered, every weed pulled was a quiet act of reclaiming. She started with the living room. Gone were the mismatched decorations and clutter Sana had brought in. Aisha replaced them with simplicity's soft beige curtains, framed photos of her parents, a woven rug her mother had once loved. She even restored the old bookshelf her father built decades ago, sanding it down until the wood gleamed again. At night, she sat on the porch with a cup of tea, listening to the distant hum of the neighborhood. For the first time in years, she didn't feel tension when she unlocked the door or guilt when she walked through the hallway. The house finally felt like a home again, not because it was hers alone, but because she had earned the peace inside it. But sometimes, when the evenings stretched too long and quiet, she thought about Sana. The hurt had dulled, but it hadn't disappeared. Aisha wondered where she was staying, if she'd found a place, if she was okay. Despite everything, she didn't wish her sister harm. She just wished her growth. One evening, Aisha received a message from an unknown number. Sana, I moved in with a friend. I'm trying to figure things out. Sana, I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't mean for it to get that bad. Aisha stared at the screen for a long time. Then she typed back slowly, Isha, I hope you do figure things out. Take care of yourself, Sana. No bitterness. No lecture. Just a quiet truth. After sending it, she walked outside to the garden. The roses were in full bloom, now soft pink and white petals glowing faintly in the moonlight. She knelt down and brushed a hand across them, remembering how her mother used to whisper to the flowers as she watered them. If you love something enough, her mother once said, it finds a way to live again. Aisha smiled. Maybe her mother had been talking about more than just roses. A few months later, the house no longer carried echoes of old arguments. It felt alive again, gentle music on weekend mornings, laughter from visiting friends, warm light spilling from every window. She even started a small tradition every Sunday. She placed a fresh bouquet of roses in the hallway, right under the framed family photo, standing there one evening. She whispered quietly to her parents, I kept my promise. I took care of the house. And deep down, she knew she'd also taken care of herself. In the end, Aisha didn't need revenge or apology to feel whole. The truth had spoken for her, the law had protected her, and time had healed what anger had broken. As she closed the door that night, the house seemed to exhale with her a shared breath of peace, forgiveness, and quiet victory. She had lost her sister for a while, but she had found herself again. And this time she truly owned it all.